Hey guys, it's Mikexingchen. Siddhartha Gautama is a name that many of us are familiar with. I think I first heard about it in world literature class in high school. And this name is especially familiar among Buddhists because Siddhartha Gautama is also known well as Buddha or the Enlightened One. Also, I just want to say here that a lot of people call him the Buddha, which is inaccurate because Buddha is actually a title given to those who have achieved enlightenment. So Siddhartha is really a Buddha, not the Buddha. Anyway, back to the story. According to archaeologists in China, Siddhartha Gautama's cremated remains may have just been found. Now, this is huge news, especially in the Buddhist community, but first of all, let's talk about Siddhartha Gautama for a minute here. For those of you who don't know, the story goes like this. Supposedly, Siddhartha was born in Nepal around 567 BC. He was not born a monk, but a royal prince. He was even married and had a son. Legend has it that when he was born, his father was warned that Siddhartha could either become a great ruler or a spiritual leader. And if his father wanted to steer Siddhartha down the great leader road, then he must keep him away from basically anything that's not beautiful and perfect. So Siddhartha was really not allowed to leave the palace, and he was always surrounded by young and beautiful people. But one day, Siddhartha did leave the palace, and it was said that even on occasion when he did leave the palace, his carriage would always be covered, and he couldn't really see outside of it. But one day, Siddhartha left the palace, and for some reason, he was able to see outside his carriage, and he saw what is known as the four sights. An old man, a sick man, a dead man, and a meditating monk who has given up all his worldly possessions in his quest to become enlightened. After seeing all this, the young prince realized that he would himself eventually get sick, get old, and die. And really nothing in his perfect world can stop that. Long story short, he renounced his rich heritage, he left his wife, left the palace, and became a wandering monk. And after years and years of cultivation, he meditated underneath the Bodhi tree and eventually reached enlightenment. After that, he was known as Buddha and began to spread his teachings all the way to China. Now, after his death and after he was cremated, pearl-like substances remained in his ashes. These pearl-looking things are called sarira, and Buddhists believe that these substances are from accomplished monks who accumulate them in their bodies that ordinary people do not have. It is also thought that these things are from other realms and really not of this world. And that's why sariras were considered sacred relics and essentially priceless. And after Siddhartha's death, his sarira was believed to have been divided among 8 royal families and his disciples. So now this brings us to the latest news where archaeologists in Jinchuan County, China, which is in the province of Gansu, discovered a box, and according to its inscription, contains the cremated remains of Buddha. According to Live Science, the inscription said, the monks Yunjiang and Zhiming of the Lotus School, who belonged to the Manjusri temple of the Longxing Monastery in Jinzhou Prefecture, gathered more than 2,000 pieces of sarira, or the cremated remains of the Buddha, as well as the Buddha's teeth and bones, and buried them in the Manjusri hall of this temple. In order to promote Buddhism, they wanted to collect sarira. To reach this goal, both of them practiced the instruction of Buddhism during every moment of their lives for more than 20 years. Sometimes they received the sarira from others' donations, sometimes they found them by chance, sometimes they bought them from other places, and sometimes others gave them the sarira to demonstrate their wholeheartedness. Like I said, if this is indeed true and they have found the remains of Buddha Sakyamuni, this will be fascinating and huge news in the Buddhism community. Because like I mentioned, sariras are considered very sacred objects and relics, and oftentimes throughout history, treasure hunters, bandits would actually kill for these things. So to be able to find a good amount of sarira belonging to Buddha Sakyamuni, that would be really incredible. And this whole thing with sarira, it's really interesting, guys. I'll put some links in my description box. Some people say, well, they're just bones and teeth that everybody has, but out of the millions of cremations that happened in history, only cultivators or monks who supposedly has reached enlightenment were the only ones after cremation produced sariras. And I actually saw these in real life before because I happened to be in Boston when the Dalai Lama came in 2004, and they actually brought sariras from different monks throughout history, and it was just incredible to see. So if they were able to find a lot of Buddha Sakyamuni sariras, like I said, would be a great cultural find because these are such extremely rare religious relics. And I'm sure more reports will be following up with this because they said they actually found these before and it turned out to be not true. So we'll see, and I'll keep you guys updated on this story. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you later.